A group of tourists in Alaska stumbled upon a massive, hairy object lying on the ground during their exploration. The sight of the 10-meter-long entity sent shivers down their spines, but they were beyond scared straight when they realized what it really was. They knew they had to call 911 as soon as possible. The entire group was absolutely stunned by this discovery, and it seemed so unreal. That thing they had found was most certainly a mammoth, but it didn't look anything like they had thought it would. Had their history books been so wrong about this? Little did they know that what they had uncovered wasn't just a mammoth after all, and it would lead to a whole lot of trouble. But before we start our story, smash the like button, make sure to subscribe, and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new stories. Wait, are you sure that we have to call the police? One of the tourists, a man named Caleb, asked. Harriet, however, had already dialed 911. Harriet made the call and explained to the officer that they had found the remains of a mammoth. The officer straight up laughed at her when he heard this, but she didn't give up. "I'm serious." The officer explained that the entire area had been searched and assured her that any mammoth remains had already been found and excavated, but Harriet persisted. Finally, the officer reluctantly agreed to contact a local glacial recovery unit to investigate the matter further. He instructed Harriet and her group to remain where they were until the team arrived. Harriet was relieved that the officer had finally agreed to send someone over, and she passed everything that he had told her on to her teammates. Harriet and her team eventually got tired of waiting, and they sat down, keeping their eyes open for any signs of the unit. Finally, they heard a loud noise, and a truck arrived, coming to a halt a few feet away from them. A man stepped out of the truck, and Harriet approached him, stretching out her hand to greet him. "Hello, I'm Arnold," the man introduced himself, and he explained that he was a glacial archaeologist. However, he failed to finish his sentence as Harriet and the group moved away from the mammoth, and he finally laid eyes on it. "Whoa, what is that?" Arnold exclaimed, and he hurried toward it to get a closer look. Harriet and her group waited in suspense to hear what Arnold would say next. Harriet walked over to him. "Well, what is this thing?" she asked, and Arnold's reply shocked her. "Miss, I'm afraid I can't tell you. You should never have seen this." Harriet's eyes widened upon hearing this, and Caleb demanded an explanation. However, Arnold only said one more thing. "I'm afraid you have to come to the station with me." Arnold pulled out his phone with a sense of urgency that was almost palpable, casting quick glances at Harriet and her friends. The group's tension was as thick as the surrounding Alaskan fog, every word from Arnold's call slicing through the silence. After ending the call, Arnold's gaze lingered on the group, sharp and calculating. It was clear he wasn't going to let anyone out of his sight. Caleb stepped forward, his curiosity getting the better of him. "What's so special about this mammoth?" he asked, but Arnold's lips were sealed. Each attempt to glean information was met with a stoic silence or a deflection. The more Arnold refused to speak, the more their imaginations ran wild. Finally, Arnold pocketed his phone and addressed the group. His tone left no room for argument. "Get in the car! Now!" he commanded. Harriet's mind raced with scenarios, none of them comforting. The seriousness in Arnold's voice was a clear sign that this discovery had catapulted them into uncharted territory. Reluctantly, they complied, their minds swirling with unanswered questions and the fear of the unknown. The drive was tense, with Arnold focused on the road and the group sitting in uneasy silence. As the truck trudged through the snow, Harriet watched the sight disappear behind them. The mention of a cleanup crew lingered in her mind. The ride was uncomfortable, each bump and jolt a reminder of their uncertain fate. They arrived at a nondescript, gray building. A man, presumably Arnold's colleague, stood waiting. His unreadable expression made Harriet uneasy as he gestured for them to follow inside. The lack of any signage or identification on the building only deepened the mystery. Inside, they were ushered into a small, stark office. Arnold's colleague instructed them to wait, and the door shut behind him. The room felt like a holding cell, with nothing but their fears and the unknown hanging over them. Fear quickly replaced any remnants of excitement. The group exchanged worried looks, wondering what indefinite stay meant for them. Would they ever leave? The sound of approaching footsteps snapped Harriet back to reality. She quickly straightened up as Arnold entered with his colleague, their faces grave. Arnold locked eyes with Harriet, asking her to recount their day. She spoke steadily, though her nerves betrayed her. Arnold listened intently, his face impassive. Then he asked for her camera. Harriet hesitated but handed it over. Arnold flipped through the photos with unnerving precision, each image scrutinized carefully. The knot in her stomach tightened as she wondered what, if anything, in the photos had crossed a line. Harriet answered each one, hoping her compliance would offer some form of understanding. Caleb stood in the hall, alone under Arnold's watchful gaze, as his photos were displayed on a screen. Arnold's eyes darted from Caleb to the images, looking for inconsistencies. With a furrowed brow, Arnold deleted one of the photos, though Caleb's silent protest was evident. There was something about this mammoth find that Arnold seemed determined to hide. As the photos disappeared, Caleb's heart raced, but a hidden smirk played on his lips. He had uploaded the photos to a cloud service earlier, a digital safety net now proving invaluable. A growing distrust towards Arnold bubbled within him. What was so damning about those photos? Caleb pressed further, questioning Arnold, but each inquiry was deflected with ease. The more Arnold evaded, the more Caleb's suspicions grew. There was a story hidden behind Arnold's careful neutrality, and Caleb was determined to uncover it. Back in their temporary cell, Caleb found Harriet, her anxious gaze meeting his. Words tumbled out doubts and discoveries that splintered their already fragile trust in Arnold. The shadow of their accidental discovery now loomed over them, binding them together in mutual fear. Caleb tried the door, only to find it locked from the outside. Their confinement had shifted from precaution to captivity, a reality that hit him hard. The room, once tolerable, now felt like a prison, its walls closing in with each passing moment. They searched the room in desperation, fingers tracing every surface for any means of escape. But nothing revealed itself. The air grew thick with frustration and a creeping sense of hopelessness. They were truly trapped. Under dim light, Caleb and Harriet huddled together. "When they come for us, that's our chance," Caleb said. Harriet nodded. They would wait for the brief moment when their captors were distracted, then act. As the lock clicked open, Caleb's muscles tensed. He moved swiftly, slipping through the gap and wedging the door open with a quiet push. He looked back at Harriet before disappearing into the shadows. Inside, Harriet was confronted by a newcomer. She explained their plight, the weight of their situation pressing on her. The newcomer's eyes flickered with understanding. Meanwhile, Caleb slipped into a cluttered room filled with screens and papers. He found a laptop and began searching. Files revealed confidential reports this facility wasn't a research hub. It was something much darker. The more he read, the clearer it became. They weren't just witnesses, but pawns in a dangerous game. He documented the evidence, capturing screenshots to ensure the truth was preserved. His heart pounding, Caleb rushed back. "We have to leave now," he urged. The gravity of his discovery was clear. They moved swiftly through maze-like corridors. With Harriet behind the wheel, they stole Arnold's truck, slipping away under the fading light. But the sound of gunfire shattered their fragile relief. Arnold had found them. Adrenaline surged as they raced through the Alaskan wilderness, dodging bullets. Arnold's truck loomed behind them. Every twist of the wheel became an act of survival. Gunfire pierced the night, each shot a threat. Bullets struck the vehicle, a grim reminder of how close danger was. Caleb took the wheel, weaving through forest paths. With each turn, he gained distance until Arnold's engine faded, lost to the wilderness. Caleb turned to the others. "What we found, it's bigger than us." He revealed the facility's darkest secret, a genetically modified mammoth, created through unethical experiments. Documents and photos confirmed the horrific truth. The revelation stunned them. Their expressions shifted from disbelief to grim understanding. They couldn't ignore what they had seen. The mission had changed from survival to exposing the truth. As the sun rose, they felt a shift. With screenshots and files in hand, they were no longer just fleeing. They were carrying a secret capable of changing everything. They went straight to the police. Initially skeptical, the officers couldn't ignore the evidence. Soon, the group was thrust into the spotlight, hailed for exposing the facility. News spread quickly. Arnold and his team were arrested, and the operation was shut down. Caleb, watching it unfold, whispered, "They're shutting it down." Their story sparked global conversations about science and ethics. "Did you ever think we'd impact the world like this?" Harriet asked. The group shook their heads, still processing the ripple effect of their discovery. Sitting around a campfire later, Caleb reflected, "I'm proud of us, but man, that was terrifying." The experience had changed them, a mix of trauma and triumph lingering. Their story wasn't just an escape, it was proof of the power of standing up for what's right. "Imagine if we hadn't said anything," Harriet mused. They had spoken out, and in doing so, reminded the world of the unpredictable nature of discovery and the undeniable impact of courage.